We are not guaranteed justice in this world. Not by the cops, not by the courts, not by friends, not by anyone. The only justice you can guarantee for yourself is the kind that you decide to make for yourself. And the most efficient form of justice is not letting people forget and continuing to speak about what happened. And they're going to call you a buzzkill, and they're going to call you a bitch, and they're going to call you dramatic. But someone's got to stay angry. Because if there's ever a point when those memories cross my mind and I don't get angry or I don't get upset, then I too have failed that 17-year-old girl who walked through the woods, through the redwoods, with tears streaming down her face, dripping off of her chin, onto her chest, onto her shirt. And she's grateful for those tears because they're helping wash away the substance that she's only barely learned the name to. I failed her too. Because unlike everybody else who knew, who saw, who took part, I won't forget and I will stay angry. If not for that 17-year-old girl in the woods, for the next one. Because when I worked at Camp Royaneh, all 4 summers, there was an adult staff member pursuing a minor staff member for a sexual relationship. And in my last summer, there was a 23-year-old staff member sleeping with a 17-year-old staff member. And even after being made aware, they have continued to hire that 23-year-old every single summer since. So you can bet your ass there's gonna be a next. So I'm gonna stay angry for me and for the next ones. Because as long as Camp Royaneh continues to exist and continues to hire these people who have helped perpetuate this abuse, not just the people who have committed the abuse themselves, but the ones who knew and stayed silent, the ones who continue to belittle the staff members who come forward, and the ones who protect and stay close friends with those abusers, as long as those people continue to be hired, there will be a next. And the common sentiment told to me has been, Hannah, if we got rid of those staff members, they've been fundamental in Camp Royaneh. If we got rid of them, Camp Royaneh wouldn't be able to function. And this is important. If your program, especially your program that works with youth, cannot exist without hiring people who perpetuate and commit abuse against those youth, it does not deserve to exist. No program has a right to exist. Camp Royaneh has a theme song of sorts, I don't know what you'd call it, called 3 Cheers for Camp Royaneh, super catchy. It ends with, we have a standard. And they absolutely do. Camp Royaneh does have a standard of rape culture and sexual assault and shaming people into silence. But I can change one of those. At least today I can. Like I said, in the 4 summers that I worked at Camp Royaneh, there was an adult staff member pursuing a sexual relationship with a minor staff member. And there's probably more. I know for a fact there were more before me because other staff members have come forward and told me about it. But I don't have a right to tell their stories. I only have a right to tell mine. I went up to Camp Royaneh, incredibly vulnerable, 17 years old, only one person I knew there, but she worked at a completely different area of the camp, so we never saw each other. I went up with a purity ring on my left hand. I went up having never swore, never taken a sexual education class, incredibly innocent, incredibly naive, and they knew it. It was a running joke. The running jokes were trying to get me to say something sexual without realizing it, saying sexual things around me to get me to blush, making sexual jokes about me, giving me nicknames that had to do with parts of my body, their favorite cakes, which I let go for a long time because they told me it was because I was so sweet. Not true. This happened for 3 months. This was for staff members who were also young, some like 15-year-old kids, 17-year-old kids, all the way up to almost 30 years old. They'd make inappropriate sexual comments about me and the other female staff members, and then all of a sudden make jokes about getting boners. They would make jokes about what a dirty mouth I have because I ate food messily, right? They would make these jokes in front of other staff members and occasionally in front of scouts to try and say things that would go above the scouts' heads, because they all went above mine. This happened for 3 months. People knew. People never said anything, and I wasn't going to say anything because I just figured this is the way things worked. This is what the world is like. I have to get used to it in order to fit in. And what am I supposed to do? Come in here and say, I don't like this. This makes me uncomfortable. I don't think this is a good idea. I was the child. It doesn't even matter if I didn't think it was wrong at the time, because the other adults in the room, it was their responsibility to see that it was wrong and stop it. Because a child doesn't always know what's best for them, especially when they're being groomed. That's kind of the whole purpose of grooming somebody, is to slowly convince them that something that they know is wrong isn't. And it worked. And that's how for 2 weeks I found myself naked in the woods. I left that camp a different person, and I lost a significant part of me there. And it wasn't because of the one guy who actually ended up being the one to touch me. It wasn't him. It was everybody else. It was not being listened to. It was not being believed. It was 6 years later when I started to come forward about things that happened and telling everyone how traumatized I was because of it. It was those people who told me I was being dramatic and a buzzkill. It was the person who told me that I was just upset because I didn't get what I wanted. And he was right. I didn't get what I wanted. I wanted to not be assaulted in the woods. It was the onslaught of, Hannah, you're trying to ruin this for everybody else. And maybe I am. Maybe the thing I'm trying to ruin, though, isn't the stargazing at night on top of the water tower. It isn't the swimming in the pool. It isn't the making memories that'll last a lifetime. Maybe what I'm trying to ruin is the trauma that gets put on a young staff member every single year at least. I don't even know what's going on with the scouts. Maybe what I'm trying to ruin is this adult staff members who take 15-year-olds to the local bar. Maybe what I'm trying to stop is the staff members who are drunk in the middle of the day interacting with the scouts and driving around the property. Maybe that's what I'm trying to ruin. And again, if your program cannot function without those things, then it does not deserve to function at all. And that's how Camp Royaneh functions. They have continued to hire people who take 15-year-olds to bars. They have continued to hire people who sleep with minors, and they know all of these things. Because I've told them, they've told each other, and I've seen these people out with the minors at the bars. I've seen them, and they all try and pretend it's not actually happening and it's not that big of a deal, but it is a big deal because, again, even if the minors don't mind, they're the children in the situation. Camp Royaneh has a standard of rape, sexual assault, and silencing people who try to speak up about what's happening. I was banned from camp when I got permission from council to bring my ESA up with me. I was blacklisted for getting permission to do something I needed in order to continue to work through being daily traumatized because the person who abused me was still there. I got blacklisted for getting permission to do this. That's the summary of my story at Camp Royaneh. And this isn't the end of it. I'm going to continue to speak out about it. I'm going to continue to point out the hypocrisy. I'm going to continue to be a big-ass thorn in the side of the Boy Scouts of America and Camp Royaneh. But you can't stop me from speaking the literal truth. And I just hope some people hear. And I just hope that the next time somebody thinks to send their young kid to go work at Camp Royaneh, they Google it first and they see this video. And I hope they think twice about it. 3 cheers for Camp Royaneh.